Bichara Supply Chain, highlighting and showcasing solutions for the most complex challenges facing the industry in 21st century by our team of subject matter experts and mentors. Broadcasting every week, all year round, we will present the most up-to-date series of podcasts and webinars.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bichara Supply Chain. This is Nurhani House, and I'm now with Salisu Uba, managing partner of NatQuest Ltd and co-founder of Africa Chamber of Digital Commerce. Thank you for being here, Salisu. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Nurhani. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so in today's episode, we are going to talk about how blockchain can transform public procurement. But before we get started, can you please tell us a bit about yourself, your professional background, and how did you find out about the blockchain?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nurhani, for hosting me today. So let me start by a brief introduction of myself. My name is Salisu Uba, originally from Nigeria and currently based in Glasgow, United Kingdom.
Yeah.
I have worked in public sector space, specifically in defense, treasury, and finance before shifting a career to private sector. My area of expertise is in strategic procurement, digital transformation, public financial management, and business process engineering. And I have a BSc degree in accounting, MSc supply chain from Aberdeen Business School, and I'm almost done with a PhD in blockchain and supply chain at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. I'm also an active member of some few professional bodies. I'm a fellow of FCIPS, fellow of the Chartered Institute of Risk Management, and member of CMI and CSMP. And currently, I'm the managing partner of NatQuest, and NatQuest is a technology transformation organization. The company focuses on digital transformation and help businesses in public and private sector to transform their supply chains. So in terms of how I was able to relate or find about blockchain or have interest or develop interest in blockchain technology, looking at the emerging space, the shift in Industry 4.0, there is a lot of discussions around digital transformations and all of that. And as an active professional of FCIPS, there is a lot of discussions around blockchain technology adoption and all of that. This actually captures my interest to explore and understand what this technology is all about. And since then, today, I'm talking to you that I'm almost done with a PhD program in blockchain technology application in supply chain. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let's start from a very basic question, Salisu. What blockchain is, and can you please provide a few examples of how it works in a public procurement?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting question. So I know there is a lot of hype in blockchain technology, and there's a lot of misunderstanding of what blockchain is and what does it mean for businesses and areas of application. So in a very simpler way, I think for a blockchain, for someone to understand blockchain, you have to look at it from the perspective of it's a chain of activities, or is a process whereby an information is being transformed digitally and put into a chain of transactions. So this is really important because understanding the logic behind the technology is really important, because that's what is going to give you the clear understanding about the technology itself. So blockchain technology is a decentralized distributed ledger technology that has high level of encryption, and that's why it gets the name in terms of the financial application, the cryptocurrency, and all of that. So this is a technology that is decentralized, distributed, and provides a kind of consensus relationship where you have diverse players and no central authority having control over the system. So in terms of application to the public procurement, we have to really understand what public procurement is. So in a simple form, public procurement refers to the purchases or the process in which governments and states, purchase or acquire certain goods, services, or works. It involves a lot of processes ranging from activities, finances, and a lot of stakeholders involved. And this is something that makes it quite complex and something of interest to the taxpayers, because you're talking about using public funds to acquire services, goods, and works. So the concept of public procurement is really area of interest for a lot of governments and multinational organizations, because this is where significant amount of resources is being tailored into in order to acquire those goods and services and perhaps the works. So literally, because of the processes involved, right from planning, which involves need assessment, advertisement, bidding documents, requests, or rather requests for proposals, and all those kind of planning stages, to putting down specifications, contract requirements, evaluation criteria, moving to another stage of bidding, which is getting to shortlist potential bidders, pre-qualification, and tendering, classification, contract requirement, down to bid evaluation. You can see how the process is getting complex and is getting interesting from one side to another, down to the award of contracts. What type of criteria are you going to adopt in terms of the technical evaluation, the financials, and of course the sourcing strategy or the procurement selection strategy a particular public agency is employing in order to get the right and the right goods, services, or works. So in trying to link all these processes together, that's why you have a lot of concerns around transparency, accountability, and above all, ensuring that there is value for money in these processes. Now, how do we relate this to blockchain technology? It's simple, because we are talking about flow of information, flow of resources, and flow of finance. And you have diverse individuals and different level of activities and different level of government authorities involved. Now, based on the principle of procurement, and of course the potential that this emerging technology of blockchain can offer, we are talking about areas of application now. How do we see that we can optimize blockchain technology into the public procurement space? It's really important. And number one, we are talking about transparency, because you have whole lot of activities going around. So it is really a question of how do we ensure that we have openness in the process? How do we ensure that the right policies or the right compliance requirements are being followed. So once you have a blockchain system deployed into this particular space, it will ensure that there is a lot of access to transparency, because everything that goes into the blockchain is transferable. Although it all depends on the nature of blockchain you are deploying for this particular purpose, but we are talking about public space, and I think public needs to know where their money is going into, who is involved, what is the process like, and all of that. So, I mean, Nohadi, these are some of the interrelations between the potential of blockchain technology in the public procurement space.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And in your personal opinion, how blockchain can be used to streamline public procurement?
Yeah, I think my earlier discussion has really captures most of these areas of streamlining public procurement. Now, the fundamental requirements in public procurement is to ensure that there is an increase in transparency and accountability within the system. Mm-hmm. And of course, it is important in public procurement to ensure that there is reduction in risk and potentially corruption or unethical practices. And this is something that in most developing countries is really a wound in the system, because there is a lot of concern about, cutting corners, ensuring that we have the laws in all this part of the world, but ensuring that there is certain compliance to some extent is not really obtainable in most of these public procurement processes. Now, in ensuring that the public procurement is streamlined using blockchain technology is simple. I mean, the adoption should really be end to end.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, there should be a lot of engagement, and engagement in terms of how do we ensure that we get the best technology, because having the technology itself is another thing, but using the technology is even more complex than we can even think. So in terms of how we streamline public procurement, or how blockchain can streamline public procurement, number one is access to information. Number two, reliability, ensuring that the public can trust the system. And of course, people will be able to have visibility around government spendings and the key decisions, and who gets what in terms of contracts, and how do they implement the contract. And I think these are some of the areas that potentially blockchain technology can streamline public procurement.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Awesome. Okay, so could you also please share some success story, how blockchain helps to fight corruptions and unethical practices, Salisu?
Yeah, that's really fascinating question, Heidi.
Yeah.
Currently, I would say blockchain is still at an infant stage, although it has been in existence for more than a decade now. But in terms of success stories, particularly in relation to government, or by extension, public procurement, I think there is some level of commitments that we have seen over the years from governments all around the world. For example, countries like Malta, they have deployed blockchain for document tracking, ensuring that process of certification of contracts and all of that has been done. Another success story that, though I don't have up-to-date knowledge about the implementation success, but I think by and large they have started looking at it as an option in terms of streamlining or rather implementing their public procurement and making it better. But I think the most interesting part of the question is the fact that we're talking about fighting corruption and unethical practices. Now, when you have a system that favors certain individuals or certain groups, then potentially you are creating an opportunity for unusual behavior to come into play. Now, number one, by ensuring that you have transparency and openness in your process, definitely that is going to fight corruption, because everything seems to be open and there won't be any compromise in the system. Number two, in terms of institutions, because we are talking about how do we make institution works?
Yeah.
How do we build their capacities? How do we ensure that we are not just awarding contract, but we are monitoring every aspect of the contractual process down to implementation and even use of those items, or rather goods or services being purchased or incurred. So the issue is definitely it is going to create integrity in the system, which integrity is obviously going to solve issues of corruption and ethical practices, because it may likely not exist in a system where you have this particular technology. But again, like any other technology or every other technology, it comes with its own challenges. Challenges ranges from the fact that what kind of blockchain are we deploying and what aspect are we looking at? Are we looking at the payment system? Because this is also an area that is prone to corruption. Are we looking at ensuring that visibility of the process is there, or are we looking at end to end? And what sort of information are we really making open in terms of the implementation of this technology, especially when you have concerns or issues or laws relating to data privacy and all of that. So, I mean, definitely in a space where you have blockchain technology, you're going to have a lot of integrity in the system. There's going to be trust, and this is going to really reduce chances of corruption or unethical practices.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Salisu, this is my last question on today's podcast. How do you see the future of blockchain in a public procurement?
Well, I think in terms of the future of blockchain technology itself and how it is being used in public procurement, definitely I would say it holds on the future, and definitely is something that most procurement organizations, procurement agencies, procurement parties are obviously looking at this as a potential problem solver. But like I rightly said earlier, the fact is the technology itself is not really the major problem on ground, but rather you have to look at the regulatory aspects in terms of implementing this particular technology, and you have to look at the level of knowledge and awareness of the key people that are going to implement, or rather make this happen. They really need to be they really need to have this understanding of this technology, and they really need to see the potential advantage in terms of the values that the technology is bringing on board. But in terms of the future, definitely blockchain holds the future of public procurement. And I can tell you, right from the level of commitments in terms of digitalizing economies, not just in developed countries, but even in developing countries. And of course, the future of everything today is technology. So that's really something that we can say that, yes, the future of public procurement is truly procurement, or procurement. Blockchain is one of it. And I think we are on course. In terms of the professional practice, a lot of professional organizations are doing incredibly well in ensuring that the knowledge, the awareness, and the strategic understanding, both from individual to certain groups and of course to corporation level, is being disseminated. And I think this is really important factor to consider for the future.
At Bichara Supply Chain, we are committed to driving global perspective to embrace technological adaptation in improving process efficiencies. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Bichara Supply Chain. And stay tuned for the latest updates. To learn more, visit our website www.bicharasupplychain.com. Thank you for listening to us. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode.